again on this current tour as they were in town Sunday and Monday last week. About 9 o'clock, Ed Sciaky with you at 94 WYSP. Our show tonight being sponsored by Siren Records on Route 263 in Furlong, Pennsylvania. As we continue our conversations with Yes, finally, after that late night dinner with Chris and Alan there, actually John was there too, and Tony as well, but we sort of hit the sack and let them get a few hours sleep. And the next morning, before they were leaving town, I met up with John Anderson at the hotel, so we had some a little bit more awake early morning conversation with John as Yes, we're preparing to leave Philadelphia on to the next step on the road, continuing the current Big Tour, so-called the Big Generator Big Tour, as we continue now with John Anderson at 94 WYSP. Ed Sciaky here, the morning after the big event, the second of the two Yes shows in Philadelphia this time with John Anderson. A good morning to you, John.
Good morning to you, Edward. How are you?
I'm just fine. When last we spoke, officially, I guess it was out in L.A., back in February, you came down to the restaurant.
Sure.
And we had a very nice time, and we also got to spend some time together. And at that time, we were talking about the album, and you were very thrilled about what was happening, although it still wasn't quite finished. Now it's out, you're back on the road, and you gotta feel great after last night. I mean, last night I think it finally all really gelled, and the second show was just so incredible. The magic was back.
Yeah, we really definitely needed Philadelphia very much. You know, you're on tour and you're playing some very good shows, Chicago and one or two other great places, St. Louis and stuff. But when you come to Philadelphia, you get that injection of energy that will last for a long time. You know, we want to tour through to next summer. We're going to have a break in the spring, but we want to come back maybe in the summer of next year. It'll be our 20th summer as a group, and it'll be a great feeling to get more people together and really spend a great afternoon, evening at JFK. I think that'd be fantastic. That's what a dream is all about. You start thinking about the dream, and then you try to make that dream a reality, you see. So I'm really dreaming for that very much. I've learned a lot in the last 6 months about how you can make your dreams come true, and I believe in that. I really do. That Yes, as a group of musicians, is a very sort of rare thing these days. There's not too many Mahavishnu orchestras chasing around. I wish there were. I wish there were a lot more of these musicians coming through. And I kind of believe in the next year or so there's going to be one or two very high-class musical groups coming through. And things are going to change. We've been sort of stuck in the sort of, I don't know, some sort of... how can you put it? Like the radio keeps playing the same hits over and over again, and the musicians that are really wanting to come through have only got a choice to go on the radio. They've only got a choice to go that direction. Whereas, say, 10, 15 years ago, musicians had that choice to actually make a performance out of music rather than direct it strictly for the top 10, you know. That's why you got Mahavishnu, that's why you had ELP, that's why you had Yes. And I think there's going to be a great time coming for the listeners and the audiences.
It's funny you're talking about that particular idea, because certainly with the rebirth of Yes, if I can call it that, with the addition of Trevor and so on, you know, you certainly are back on the charts. I mean, you've had you know, pop success, and yet neither you nor I don't think consider that the essence of what Yes is about or ever was all about.
Well, you can't rely on it. You don't make it your focal point. You know, the main thing about Yes was like last night. There we were. We did a song that was 15 years old, and we had a standing ovation for 10 minutes, which blew our minds. I tell you, just to be able to be in that moment was a great experience in my life. It really was.
I was almost in tears. It was after Heart of the Sunrise last night.
Yeah. Now, here's a song that was on an album. It was never a single. It was just a song, you know. And somehow, maybe half the audience had never heard that song before. And maybe the reaction of the other half created this thing that we all sort of evolved in that time. And in that 10-minute period, we were all going through a sort of euphoria, which was generated not by the group, not by the audience, but by something more sort of, I can say, more sort of mystical and magical. I think the universe is at work, and with a lot of great musicians, you know, like Springsteen. I've seen Springsteen at the Spectrum, and I've felt that energy. And I know that it's the people, but I also know it's something more exciting. And this is, you know, this is just in the last 4 or 5 years, this kind of energy is coming through, and I really believe in that energy very much. It's interesting that for anyone who knows the group, that we would do a song like "Owner of a Lonely Heart," which was a #1 hit, and we get a good response, and then we do "Yours Is No Disgrace," that was an album cut 14 years ago, and that went down twice as much. You see? So it's this kind of, it's a juxtaposition. It's interesting that when you think about the size of Philadelphia, that we get a small percentage to come and see the show, when I know there's listeners out there listening to the show and saying, you know, who is Yes and what are they really? They've got to come and see it. It's like, I didn't know who Bruce Springsteen was until I saw him.
I told you.
I know, you kept telling me for years, and I said, yeah, he's cool. But when I saw this guy, you know, I've got his new album, I play it every day. There's something special about the energy that's coming through him. And the same thing happens with the band Yes, and it happens with a lot of other musicians. There's Michael Jackson, he's going to be touring soon. The energy is there. And it's good for people these days to make that effort and get away from the TV and get away from that, you know, that cycle, that weekly cycle, and go out and experience.
But you don't often enough for that. Every 3 years isn't enough. The rest of the time we have to sit there and watch videos, you know, and listen to the record.
No.
I know.
Life doesn't center around Yes. There's a lot of other...
For many people it does, John. It does.
Well, it does for me.
Okay.
It does for me, because that's all my whole life.
It does for a lot of people, and you know that. You've talked to them. At the Yes Con, you had some of them on the phone with you. You know what it's like. But you mentioned Owner of a Lonely Heart. I mean, not to put down any of the new material. Some of it's wonderful and so on. But there's something. There's a difference. I mean, there's a difference between Owner. I mean, you know,
I don't know. If you think about "Hold On," which is one of the newer songs, that has the same strength as "Yours Is No Disgrace" and other.
Well, "Final Eyes," I think, on the new album reminds me most of that type of old energy or old sound.
Actually, we started this tour. The set was 3 hours long. And we have "Final Eyes," "I'm Running," "Yours," "Rhythm of Love." We're talking about doing "Close to the Edge," you know, a sort of revised version, which, you know, penultimately, when we come back in the spring of next year, or next February, March, we'll be doing them songs. And next summer, let's hope we can do a major show around the country, and Europe, and the Far East, and South America, and Russia, and China. I believe that we should do these things. Now, that's a dream, you know. I'm just going to hold on to the dream, and you can say, hey, you remember that dream you had, John? Hey, it happened. Or, but I would rather think that it will happen. So I have a great...
Well, you had a dream that when the band sort of broke up before, that it would happen again, and you told me it would happen again, and it's happening again, and it's happening, I mean, judging by last night, better than ever.
There's something about this tour that is interesting. The fact that there's been a lot of tours around. People are not coming to see us like we haven't sold 5 gigs here or 10 gigs like Springsteen. Then we're not a major draw, if you like. We bring people in that really enjoy us, but there's something going on. You know, there's a certain feeling that Yes, I've never had before with the audience.
You are not, I wouldn't categorize the band as successful just because you're still around. I mean, because you're certainly, in fact, the majority of the show is the newer material, not the older material.
We're still trying to prove that we're a really great band.
Well, you're doing, the new stuff is great and the old stuff is great, but to me there's a little difference in feeling, just maybe because it's me, I don't know. You know, I have spent 14 years, as you say, with those songs, and I've spent several months with the new album, so it can't possibly have the emotional attachment for me that it has, that the old stuff does. You know,
Shoot High, Aim Low has got some character, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm Running, when we get it right, will be great.
There's a whole middle period too that I was mentioning it to Alan, from, you know, close to the edge into Topographic, Relayer, Tormato. That is not really represented in the live show. There's some interesting material in there. You know,
Awaken is probably the best Yes piece of music.
Whoa! Yeah.
But you know, hopefully when I get the chance to tour again, I will do that song, because I believe in that very much. But that's not to take away from the passion that's within the band. Boy, it's not that we fight inside, you know. Chris and Trevor and Tony and Alan and myself, we have such a passion for what we're doing that we really, really chase each other all the time, you know. If we have a bad night, boy, are we in such a mood for a day, you know. That's what
mood for a day.
No. Did I say that?
See, Steve Howe had something there for you. The final portion of our conversation with John Anderson of Yes here at 94 WYSP. What are your great moments in Yes music?
Well, I definitely feel And You and I, Hold On, Awaken. And you say, you know, Finalize could make it, but we tried it, it sounded okay, but nobody knew it, you see. And you could sense that from the audience, that the album really has not hit big yet. Yeah. That means, well, we're prepared to wait. And I think that's the strength of the group as a group unit. We're not saying, okay, well, you know, the album's not... Well, actually, it's selling very well, actually. It sold 1 million in two months, which is pretty exciting.
But that has a lot to do with how the single does and how the video does.
It's the business, and we're not very good video. We're terrible video. Actually, we're just doing a video for Rhythm of Love. And that could be good, because we've all really said, okay, we're not good at making videos, so maybe now we'll make a good one.
The Yes... Some early, they weren't called videos, and the promotional films of I can't remember what they were, but the ones from the first two albums even, that were so weird, where you running around with a nun chasing you and all kinds of things. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we always did what we were told to do, because it was sort of, if we know what we're doing in the studio writing songs, then you go into video world, you do what you're told, and more or less. You led along the garden path, and the end product never really satisfies, because I'm really a film buff. I love movies, so, and I love some videos. I think the Sting's video is incredible. Phil Collins' Genesis videos are always great. Actually, I'm going to use Jim Yukich for my album.
Yeah, let's start. We should mention that your people will be glad to know you have a new solo album. It's already done, ready to come out. We just got 2 more songs to mix. I'm working on 2 songs with Toto, and they've been such a great bunch of people. I got to tell you, Toto are just so clever musically, and they're just such nice people. And I was able to work with Stuart Levine, who's a very, very good producer. He seems to he brought out a lot of fun in me, and I'm doing songs with Lamont Dozier, one of the great writers of our age, and so the album is very entertaining on many levels. It isn't a stylized album at all. It's just I think it's just got a lot of different ideas on it, and it's something that should come out around March of next year. And does it have a title? Oh.
I think it's going to be called In the City of Angels, Los Angeles.
Right.
That's where it was made. I was surprised that title hasn't been used before, but it's going to be called In the City of Angels.
Right. I look forward to hearing that, I'm sure. And I know you've been doing films. You mentioned films. Are you doing some film soundtrack? Had songs on different soundtracks and so on.
I've done a couple, but I'm more interested in the last 6 months. I've been developing my keyboard work, and I'm ready to become, alongside Guitarro and not Vangelis, because Vangelis is the greatest. But along those guys' lines, I can make music like that, and I enjoy making music so much. So I've spent this summer reactivating my musical talents, and I'm ready to, I've made actually one album already of music, as you might call new age wave music, and that should come out next summer. And also I'm working on it's a sort of magical mystery tour, to coin a phrase. It relates to the ancient Indian people of this part of the world. I was very, very fortunate to be able to get in touch with the ancient ones through some wonderful Indian people that I've met in Los Angeles, and that has been one of the, again, a great experience to go through in a lifetime, to actually discover the truth to life, if you like. You know what the answer to life is? It's very simple. The answer to life is living it. You have to think about that one. And there is a universal brotherhood and sisterhood. There are people living on planets. We've always sort of not suspected it. We've always thought that it could be. But our perception is very, very limited at the moment. But within the next year or two, we will rediscover that there are other planets with people, and they are our brothers and sisters of the universe. Do you like that one? So that's what's happened to me in the last 6 months. And being on tour, I'm trying to really re-energize the power of being in Yes, And I really, really enjoyed last night, I got to tell you. I think it just made me realize that the dream can come true, It sounds corny, but hey, I don't care.
John, thank you. You're on your way to wherever to continue
another show, another place, another gig, and more people.
And we hope to see you again soon, and we'll hope to enjoy the music.
Thanks very much. Thanks a lot, Ed.
That's Holy Lamb, song for harmonic convergence. John Anderson's practically, I guess, solo contribution there to the Yes album. Of course, band playing on the track on Big Generator, and that was actually the B-side of the single, Love Will Find a Way also. And thanks again to John Anderson, as well as Chris Squire and Alan White and Tony Kay for chatting a bit with us this past week as they were in town, and we thank them again, and thanks to you for joining us tonight as we listen to the music of Yes and salute them. Great show. The Monday show especially was a phenomenal evening for Yes fans, and they're going to be in Washington, D.C., by the way, next Sunday night, the 13th, and they'll be at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, North Jersey, on the 18th and 19th. If you would care to join me on the Turnpike, we'll see you there. And hopefully, Yes, we'll be back in Philadelphia before too long. But again, they really enjoyed the reception, the response. That standing ovation that the audience gave them on the second evening was right after Heart of the Sunrise. Quite amazing. 26 before 10, Ed Sciaky with you on Sunday evening. Ed Green and the Sunday Night Six-Pack will follow at 10 tonight.